what God provides. And then we moved on. Did you see that? Did you see how we moved on and we celebrated what God has already provided in us, that we don't have any darkness, that our time has become light. Then we celebrated our God, the great God that creates transformation in us. He creates that transformation and talked about his wonders and the great things that he's done. Lastly, we talked about prophecy coming true. The days of David, the days of Elijah, the days of Moses, all these things that these people looked forward. The culmination of everything that they talked about in the Bible coming together in these days before Jesus is coming back. We celebrated the breadth and the depth of our faith that started with the Jews 6,000 years ago and has come here to us today, sitting in this church, as far removed from that country as we can possibly be, and yet we're still celebrating the same God. Wow. Have you ever thought about that? How deep our faith is. How deep what we do is. And it has been celebrated for 6,000 years to here today. Does that not blow your mind? So the question I'm going to ask you today, and I know we've heard from this pulpit, we've heard various versions of this, and I'm actually going to borrow from one of the more recent ones that we had for the first part of the message, maybe take my own little spin on it. But the question I'm going to ask you today is, how's your faith? Because 6,000 years of faith means nothing if it's not in you today. 6,000 years of faith means nothing if it stops with you. Now, the faith will continue on, regardless of how you choose to participate in it. But your faith, or your part of the faith, is dependent on you and what you want from it. We, of course, are going to start out with a definition, but first I wanted to tell you, no, I think I'm going to start with that definition. Let's go to Hebrews 11, please. Familiar verse. It says, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things that we cannot see. Through our faith, the people in the days of old earned a good reputation. And by faith, we understand that the entire universe was formed at God's command. But what we now see did not come from anything that can be seen, meaning it wasn't there before. There was nothingness. In the beginning, there was nothing. And then God started speaking and formed our entire reality by just the words of his mouth. He put things into place. This, of course, was later confirmed with the book of Job, where God took Job through his creation and explained to Job how each thing was meticulously maintained by him. And our faith is not based on things that we can see. Because if we could see it, it wouldn't need to be faith. That would just be sight. Correct? It's easy to believe that Mount Rushmore is real because I can look at pictures on the internet. I can actually go there and stare at it. Take a picture of it with my camera in person. It's easy to believe that Mount Rushmore is a real thing. Now, if you had told people back in the 1700s that we would one day have a mountain with men's faces carved in it, they would have laughed at you. That took faith to believe back then. It took faith when he first started when the creator of Mount Rushmore first started to create faces inside this mountain. But if you take just 100 years before that, before the advent of dynamite, before the advent of mass cutting tools that we could use to be able to form that, They would have thought you were crazy that you could carve actual faces in this mountain that you could tell what they were. Did you ever think about that? When he first started, he had to have faith that he could turn this mountain into 4 faces. Unfortunately, that's what faith looks like. I've got a story here. It says, one night a house caught fire and a young boy was forced to flee to the roof. And the father stood on the ground below with outstretched arms, calling to his son, "Jump! I will catch you!" And he knew the boy had to jump to save his life because he could see the flames licking. But all the boy could see was flames and smoke and blackness. And he couldn't bring himself to jump because he couldn't see his father down below. All he could hear was his father calling to him. His father kept yelling, "Jump, I will catch you." But the boy protested, "Daddy, I can't see you." And the father replied, "But I can see you." And that's all that matters. Unfortunately, that's our faith. I say unfortunately because it's hard to jump into something that you can't see. I watch this guy, Mr. Beast, online. And he has one of the things he makes his friends do in some cases is he says, "I need you to jump off into this void and you will not get hurt." And you watch his friends sit there and dither as to whether he's messing with them or whether, and he doesn't put a harness or nothing on them. And he waits to see if they'll actually do it. And then what you find out is in the blackness is hidden a net, and they hit the net and are caught. But it's hard. You watch many of them walk off. They don't know what's going to happen. Because you always start thinking, what if it misses? That's the same faith we have to have on our God. I read about a professor where he had them doing like science fair type things. And each of them did their thing, but the one boy, he decided to show that we lose energy in everything we do. And he did this by attaching a pendulum to the roof. And he read the law that says that we lose, how is it? It's the conservation of, we lose velocity. The ball will lose velocity by rubbing against the air, and so it will never make it back to its original point. It only comes so far, and then it has to stop. And he attached a bowling ball to the end of his pendulum, and he read that law, and the professor said, "Yes, that's absolutely right." And he said, "Well, thank you, Professor, for agreeing with me and showing how much you believe in your science." He said, "Guess what? I need you to stand on this table. We're going to bring the ball up to your nose." And he said, and then the professor said, "Ha ha ha, yeah, sure." And he gets up there, and the boy brings the ball back and touches just the bridge of his nose, and then he drops the ball. And the ball swung out over the heads of the other students, and they said that as soon as it got to its peak and started back, he jumps off the professor jumped off the table, and he found out he didn't believe in science as much as what he thought. That's our faith. You know what? It's okay to come here to church and hear all this great pastor that you have talking. I'm saying that facetiously. It's okay to do that, but what happens when it meets you where you're at? What happens with what I talk about here on Sundays suddenly meets you where you're at on a Tuesday? Do you have faith then? Do you have faith when that call comes in and said, "Hey, we've looked at your test, you've got cancer"? Do you still have faith then? Do you have faith when you need money and there's a big bill that comes due? Can you have that kind of faith that more's coming and is going to meet your need, that he supplieth all my needs? Faith is hard. And it's not easily found in this world. But as it says here in Hebrews, it says it's the evidence of things not seen. If it was seen, it wouldn't be faith. I don't know if we can't see God because we don't have the ability to comprehend God. And by that I mean a physical ability, because what you find out is that we can see only a very narrow range of what can be seen. And they prove this by using infrared and the various spectrums of light to show that there's other things on different spectrums. So can we not see God in the physical? Can we not sense him with our sense of touch, with our ears? It's faith. And all we can know is the evidence. Just like Elijah, I'll let you see Moses, I'll let you see the evidence of where I've been, Moses. You can't see me face to face, but you can see where I've been. Are we okay with that? What we teach here every week is the evidence of where God was in each of these situations. But when they were going through it, they probably didn't see God. They didn't see God until he was already there and already made it happen. They're just like us. That we don't know God until he's already been there and he's moved past. That's faith. Now, I said I was going to rehash a little bit of one of Derek's messages on faith. I thought this was neat. I'd never heard that summed up, and I know several of you weren't there when Derek first preached this. So we're just going to do it as a reminder, because actually this entire message is setting up next week's message. We're laying the groundwork. We're understanding faith, and then we're going to move on, and we're going to see faith in as how it applies to us. Okay. So next week you'll have a jump on the people that weren't here this week, unless they listen to the message and on the line. But you're going to get a jump here. So we're going to go into this. We're laying the groundwork here for future messages. Okay. So next, we have the 3 types of faith. We're going to go back over this. We'll do this. I'm hoping to do this fairly quickly. The first type, of course, is demonic faith. It comes out of James 2:19 and 20. It says, "You say you have faith, for you believe that there is one God. Good for you. Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. How foolish. Can't you see that faith without good deeds is useless?" A demon type faith. This would also be an atheistic type faith. Or an agnostic type faith. That's probably a little more descriptive. An agnostic type faith. An agnostic type faith says there is a God, but I don't care. That's the same thing with the demons. There's a God, but I'm not going to live by anything he ever said. I'm not going to act like he had any meaning in what I do. It's the same type of criminals. There are laws. Criminals say there are laws, but I'm going to go do what I want to do. I know there's laws about breaking and entering. I know the penalty for breaking and entering. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go break and enter. I'm going to go get my money. That's a demonic type faith. We acknowledge what is, but it doesn't mean anything beyond us except to dodge it. Okay? Moving on to the next type faith. And this is probably the biggest type faith. This is dead faith. This comes out of James 2:17. So you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it is dead and useless. After praying about this scripture, I also want to add an addendum to this, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But dead faith is the type that a lot of people had that were maybe raised in church, but then they found other places to be. I heard all your rhetoric. I heard all the things that you say, but man, the real world's so interesting. Let me be over there. And it had no power to them. It just is. Well, I don't necessarily disagree with church, but I got better places to be. That's dead faith. Now, hiding in dead faith is a 2A, as I'm going to call it, is religious faith. Now, religious faith is I have faith, but I have it in my church. Okay? Not the big C church, but in my little C church. Okay? That's where I have faith in all these rituals that the church has put together, but it goes no further than Sunday morning. Sunday morning's one thing, Monday morning completely different. I'll come and check my box on Sunday morning, but I'm not going to live anything different through my week. It's a dead faith because it's dead and useless. It only has power for 2 hours every week on Sunday morning. And now, do you see what goes on with these first two? Do you see what's going on with the first two? The first two say, I'm in control of what I do. It says that I'm good enough to accomplish everything I need to. Now, I may want to know the knowledge that you're putting around, but I'm not going to do anything with it. It's all about me. I like to call it the church of me. It means it's all about me. The whole thing is about me. Now, of course, if we have two bad faiths, if we have a bad faith, we must have a real faith. And that's complete faith. And that comes from James 2:21. It says, don't you remember that our ancestor Abraham was shown to be right with God by his actions when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see, his faith and his actions worked together. His actions made his faith complete. James famously said, you show me your faith without works, I will show you my faith by my works. And not that works are the most important thing. No. The faith must produce fruit. Okay? Now, back in the day, we tried to have a garden. And now we were really good at strawberries. I know because I picked a 5-gallon bucket every other day. We were really good at that. But we had these grapes. And I'm going to be honest with you, maybe we got like 2 actual productions of grapes. Okay? Maybe 2. But otherwise, they were just pretty vines. They hung on the thing and they were there. We even built a trellis and a type thing with wires across it and everything. And it looked nice. But I didn't really see a lot of grapes come out of that mess. Okay? The grapes had everything they needed to survive, but they didn't produce fruit. They looked pretty. That's how we can be on Sunday. Sometimes we come here and we look pretty, but there's no fruit coming out of our lives. We're not producing. I was just talking to Gary earlier in the service, and we were talking about ground and what you get out of your ground. And there's a lot of work that goes into that. He was talking about the hours that they spend getting all that off. Do you know it takes 10 hours to clear 100 acres of corn? 10 hours. So if you, by that math, at 10 acres per hour, spread out over however many acres you have, you can find out how many hours it takes for them to bring that corn off if everything goes right. They don't do that if there was no fruit. That wouldn't be worth the sacrifice if they went out there to the field and it was all these pretty green stalks, but no ears hanging off of it. If we were listening to James, if you're going to come to this nice church, that we've renovated, that Kelly and Adam renovated and got back into this thing, and many of you put in labor and everything else. Many of you put in labor over at the new building, invested towards that, towards that thing. We just saw a reminder about that this week. It had been 10 years since we built our fellowship hall out here. And we showed all the people that had either given money or had laid floor, like Ed and Gary and all these different things that people did. And if it was just that, but we didn't receive any benefits, then it would be like you did all the right things, but you didn't receive any fruit from it. That's why Ed eats for free every time. Just kidding. But no, I'm serious though. It's the same thing. You can come here, you can sit and you can listen, but if it doesn't change your life, then it's a wasted 2 hours. If it is 2 hours, I don't even know. Probably not. But I mean, it's a wasted time. If it's not making a difference, then it's just wasted. It should produce fruit. You should be able to go out of here and it starts to get implanted. These things that we're talking about should be getting planted, and then it should make a difference in what you've got going out here. And let me give you a hint. Let me give you a secret. You can get fruit regardless if the pastor is any good or not, because God's word produces fruit. If it is planted correctly, it will produce fruit. Now, if you take, just like with corn, if you take it and you throw it out in the middle of a pond, you're not going to get any fruit, are you? Right? If God's word is put in the right circumstances, it'll produce fruit. Just like if you put corn in good ground that has the right nutrients in it, that has that's not been used up, it will produce fruit. It will produce corn. That's the same with complete faith. If your faith is planted in something, in the right things, not I need a $200,000 Veyron car or one of these great supercars, or I need everybody to like me, or I need to. But if you set up a biblical condition for you to prosper, then with faith it will prosper. It's the right ground. All right? All right, that's the end of the 3 types of faith. So if you need to, write that down. If not, we're going to go on. Facts about faith. Hebrews 1:6 says it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. If you all remember, we talked about a definition of faith. We got it from the Stanley kid. I can't think what his name is. Andy Stanley. We read a book way back there 6 years ago. We read this book, and Andy Stanley had one of the best definitions of faith. I don't know if he came up with that or whatever, but it says, and faith is believing that God is who he says he is and will do what he says he will do. That's what this verse says. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists, he is who he says he is, and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him, that he'll do what he says he will do. Okay, do you see that? But we're going to focus on the first part of that verse, that it is impossible to please God without faith. What's that tell us? You may be the best church attender in the world, but if you have no faith, it's not going anywhere. This isn't going to count you up to heaven. Just because you came 200 times, or let's say 48 times to church this year, that doesn't mean you get an automatic ticket to heaven. Ooh. Hope that didn't throw your theology off. I really hope that didn't throw your theology off, because that means you've not been listening. Okay? It is impossible to please God without faith. That verse there is not said anywhere in the Bible. And all things come out of those words. Because if we have faith in God, we will do what God has told us to do. We will feed the widows and orphans. It says that is one of the things that God loves, is when his people show kindness to people who can't show kindness back. You know why? That's faith in who God is. That's faith that God will provide for you so that you can bless others. Okay? That's the starting point. It's impossible to please God without faith. Claire and Trey may be the best singers that ever sang in the world, but if there is no faith in the words that they're singing about, chirping words. I may be the best orator that's ever preached the Word of God, but if I have no faith outside of here, I'm just chirping. I learned how to put together a sermon. In fact, I see that a lot when people go to school and they learn how to put together a sermon, but they lose the faith that these words talk about. It is impossible to please God without faith. You can do all you want for God, but if there is no faith in that, then it's impossible. You will never please him. You married people, you can do all kinds of great things for your wife. Buy them beautiful gifts, do all this stuff. But if you don't treat her like she exists, it means nothing. Or she stays with you just for the stuff. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But if you want to have a real relationship, but there'll never be a real relationship there. Right? Am I off? Okay. Well, God's the same way. I can do all kinds of things for God, but if I don't have that faith to speak with God, to do it in his name, to show people what God has changed in me and to show others, then I'll never please God. Let's move on. James 1:6, but when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty or faith is as unsettled as the waves of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Divided faith. I have faith in God, but I have faith over here. Faith in God says, go feed the sick. Give clothes to those who have none. House the homeless. But if I have faith in my government to do the same thing, that's divided faith. If I have faith in God, or claim to, that I'm going to leave that alone. We're going to move on. Divided faith is a very hard thing. And the person that most of the time that we have this divided faith with is ourselves. John's enough to be able to help 20 people a day at his hospital. That's faith in me. That's not faith in God. If I lose sight that God has given me the ability to be able to help people, and that when I sit in their presence, I will be able to let the Spirit speak and talk about the things that they need to deal with, in our time together, that's real faith. But if I believe that I can know enough, that I can be interesting enough, that I can shoulder the burdens that they put on me on my own, I'll wind up a wreck. Because I will fail. How do I know this? I've seen it happen. You know, I had a degree once. Believed I knew all about business. And I trusted in that degree and I believed that that degree would help me find happiness. We see where I am today. Am I right? I tried the business thing. Chris talked about that they know me, that you all saw me go through various things. I tried the business thing because I thought I was under the mistaken belief that having money would make me happy. Now, money's not evil. Don't get me wrong. Don't twist what I'm saying here. I believe, though, that what I needed in life was if I had enough money, I would be happy. That is a lie. You can never have enough. And it will never go whatever way you think is seen. And then if that is your salvation, the money, you'll always be looking for that next way to get more of it. And you know what that comes with? It comes with compromise. One of my favorite lessons came from The Simpsons. The evil boss, Monty Burns. He looks out at this class of kids and he said, family, friends, and pets. If you have those, you'll never have money. It'll ask you everything. If you want it all, you're going to have to give it all. Like a God. Did you see that? Like a God. But then why? Why is America the greediest people in the world? Why then do we spend so much on therapy if money was going to save us? That's the question you have to ask yourself. If it would save us, why do we spend so much in therapy to be able to deal with ourselves after we've gotten the thing that we want? I don't know if any of you know this, but like therapists cost a lot. So you have to have a lot to be able to afford a lady to talk to you about the lot that you have. And they do good work. I'm not disparaging them, but I do see them as as like the aspirin of the problem. It doesn't really fix anything. It just allows you to bear through it. If you have divided faith, you'll never be happy. What does the commandment say? He said, I am a jealous God. Just like your wife doesn't want to share you with another woman, it's the same thing with God. He doesn't want to share you with other lovers, other people, other deities in our life. Entertainment, money, fill in your blank. Faith sees him as the source. Faith sees him as the provider. Just like the song, Jehovah Jireh, our provider. God the provider. One last one, and then we're going to end it for today. Help if I turn my notes. We go to 1 John 5:4. For every child of God defeats this evil world, and we achieve this victory through our faith. If you want to beat evil, and as our worship team comes and gets ready, if you want to beat evil, you have to have faith. Do you see that? That we can only defeat evil through our faith. There was a homeless population over in this town of Missouri. And as far as I know, the only people that rose up was two of my dad's friends, Jerry and Elaine Jones. We've had them here at the church. And they started out and they could just feed a few. They did it in the basement of their church that they were currently going at. And they just kept, but they just kept believing in God to supply all their needs. And there came a point when all these other homeless shelters around the St. Louis area were shutting down. But they just kept their faith. They didn't rely on the government to bring them food. They didn't rely on anything else but their faith in God. And by the end, how many did it say they were servicing? Do you remember that, Mom? They guessed they serviced roughly between 250 to 300 people every week. With clothing, with a medical ministry, with food, with all these different things. And it just kept growing and growing and growing. But they had to have faith, or that dream would have died with all those other homeless ministries around St. Louis. It got so big, it got the attention of the Red Cross, who came in and bought it all part and parcel, because they had done so much with it that everything was there that the Red Cross was trying to achieve in that area. Wow. But it all started with faith. They had faith to feed the initial people that they were going to feed, and that faith turned into feed most of the homeless people around. Where's that town? St. Charles. Most of the homeless people around St. Charles. They achieved victory through their faith. You could achieve victory through your faith. If you're going through anything, if there is something about yourself that you don't like, you came into this faith and there was something in you that you started to see was not great. You know how you'll beat that? You won't do it by yourself, because you had yourself to beat it all along. Go ahead and try. You'll fail every time. But if you give it to God, if you do it, put your faith in God, that He is enough to get you through whatever's going on, you will achieve victory through your faith. Join with us as we sing for one last song before we end.